Um, we were talking earlier about some of the things you knew about the 1948 strike that a lot of people don't know. Did you want to talk about that again?
Well, the 1948 strike was a unique strike by any union or company that was negotiating, because the government changed the laws in the middle of that strike. They came out with the Taft-Hartley Act. The Taft-Hartley Act set up rules and reports you had to make before you were authorized by the government to go out on strike. The union had done everything completely legal and proper to go on that strike, but according to the government, we were legal to go out on strike under the previous law. And now that the law had changed, all of our filings previous to that and all of our actions previous to that were ruled illegal. They've got a few lawsuits filed, other actions taken, that it wound up that the union had to rerun its election in a three-way vote: the communists, the machinists, and the Teamsters. All three were trying to take a hold of that office and that control. Dave Beck was the director of the Teamsters. Most people know Dave Beck. He did things like having the usual meet you at the door, and if you don't want to join the union, you'll get hit with a baseball bat. The campaign was run under the auspices of the federal government on physical power and a few lawsuits. The machinists were able to throw the communists off the ballot, out of the ticket. So then it depended on the Teamsters and the machinists to see who was going to become the representative of the employees at Boeing's, or nobody. The machinists won the election in spite of some hardships. Like Boeing's would not allow a machinist on the floor of the plant to do any campaigning, but they authorized the Teamsters to have as many people in the plant, organizing people, as they wanted. In spite of that advantage the Teamsters had, the machinists won the election. They came out with the 1950 contract. Yeah.
And we lost some significant things in that contract, I believe.
Well, the 1950 contract, which put the people from the 48 strike back to work, lost a lot of rights the union had prior to the strike. Number one, the union represented prior to the strike all of the supervisors at Boeing's. They called them flight chiefs. We had represented the nurses going in. They got out of it at that time. We represented the clerical employees over the stores department and other activities in the plant, where we represented those secretaries and runners, and they dropped out of the unit. So we ended up with quite a smaller unit. Nevertheless, we won. In about 1960, or 69, the nurses came back into our organization. And they still are represented by our organization as of this date. We had a lot of things that created some interest between the 48 contract and today, was the fact that there was no place big enough to hold a meeting of our members. That's why they held it at Rainier Stadium. You could spread out across the grass, and you're out in the open, you have your information passed on to you, and then take your vote. The next contract we had, we negotiated or presented the contract to the members, and they voted on it. Was held at the Memorial Stadium. The next place we found to hold a vote was at Longacres Racetrack. We gave out our strike checks at Longacres Racetrack, standing behind the pari-mutuel ticket windows, passing out our checks.
You eventually went to the Kingdom too for meetings.
Pardon?
You eventually went to the Kingdom too for meetings.
Yes, we went to the Kingdom for a number of events. Our contract boat was held there one year, and the Kingdom had a rodeo going on. So they pulled the animals out of the main part of the hall, but all of their leavings were still on the floor and throughout the area, but we managed to get our people in and voted and out of that. But it was kind of a unique spot where you expected to see a bull rider come out the gate any time. We used the Kingdom for strike payments in 1968. We set up 27 tables and had the traffic come in the lower doors, out onto the field, through the tables to get their checks, and out the other side. And it worked fairly well.